Hey everyone, how's it going? Matthew Kadish here, author of the Earthman Jack Space Saga, available over on Amazon.com. And today I'm doing a live stream. Welcome to the Legion of Doom, where the internet's greatest evil geniuses all get together to plot to take over the world. And today I am happy to introduce some of the greatest evil geniuses you are ever going to meet. The Legion of Doom regulars. We have Matt Vader 74. Matt, thank you for coming on the Legion of Doom and helping us plot to dominate the world.
My pleasure, sir.
Why don't you introduce yourself? Tell people where they can find you.
Twitter at Matt Vader 74. I'm also working on starting up a mixer stream where I'm going to play some games, mostly World of Warcraft, that kind of stuff. Twitter mostly, though. Yeah.
Right on. And we have Jay, aka Drunk 3PO. Jay, thank you for coming to plot with us. Are you drunk right now by any chance?
I don't want to say.
Right.
Just let my
let
my
demeanor
speak for itself.
And we have Stephen Wayne, an expert illustrator. Steve, thank you for coming on the stream today. Why don't you tell people where they can find you?
Thank you for having me. I'm on Twitter, Stephen Wayne Art. Instagram, same handle, Stephen Wayne Art. That's about it. I don't have a YouTube channel right now, not yet. So.
Right on. Drunk, why don't you tell people where they can find you as well?
You can same name, Drunk 3PO, YouTube, Twitter, all the same. Pretty easy. Pretty easy.
And for those of you watching us on Facebook, if you want your comments to show up in my control panel, you need to authorize StreamYard to connect with your Facebook account. There should be a link up in the description that will take you through that, and it'll show me your name and your picture, and I'll be able to display it on screen. If you don't do that, you're just going to show up as anonymous user, so I'm not going to know who's calling out to us. But we've got a big news day today. We're going to be talking about a lot of interesting things, some spicy stuff, which, it's interesting that we have an all-male panel because the spicy stuff is definitely going to be male-oriented. We're going to talk about a lot of fun and interesting things today. But the first thing that we're going to talk about is a new rumor that actor Ewan McGregor, is going to reprise his role as Obi-Wan Kenobi in a potential Obi-Wan Disney Plus TV series. So I'm going to take you through the article, then we're going to talk about it here. This is from StarWarsNewsNet.com, and it's based off of a report from a website called Cinelinx, which I've never heard of. So treat this with a grain of salt because I don't know how reliable Cinelinx is. They're claiming this is an exclusive to them. They had an insider source that said the contract was just signed, but we all know how rumors work on the internet, so it's kind of up in the air right now. Another happy landing. It has been reported that Ewan McGregor has signed his contract to return as Obi-Wan Kenobi. So this is where the fun begins. This adds support to our exclusive report from earlier this year that the scrapped Kenobi movie was being retooled as a Disney Plus live-action series with McGregor set to return. The report of the contract signing comes from Cinelinx, in which they state two separate sources told them McGregor has put pen to paper to return. They speculate that this could have been done to enable them to make some sort of an announcement for the series at D23, which is the big Disney convention, which is happening at the end of August. I agree, as that would certainly create larger buzz for the streaming service, which launches in less than 3 months. It will be interesting to see what comes next. When we reported the story back in February, I was told the project was in development, that Gregor was 100% on board with returning, and that the script from the movie was being reworked into a series. Well, now it appears the actor might have finally signed his contract, which would submit his return to a galaxy far, far away. We will keep you posted as we learn more details about the Kenobi project. This is exciting for Star Wars fans, as a Kenobi project is something that we can really unite Star Wars fans behind, which is a good thing. And this is from columnist John Hoey. I don't know. But guys, if true, this is big news, wouldn't you think? Matt Vader, why don't we start with you? What are your thoughts on this this potential comeback for Obi-Wan?
Who doesn't want to see this? I mean, I would love to see a Obi-Wan movie or television show. To be completely honest, I mean, I've always, since I was a little kid, I was always wondering what Obi-Wan was doing on that desert planet in those years between when he was watching over Luke. You know, I mean, lots of room there to tell stories, I think.
3PO, what do you think is the biggest difference between something like this and Solo, a Star Wars story, in terms of like audiences not wanting, to see Solo as opposed to like an Obi-Wan movie?
Well, I think the Obi-Wan movie is what we wanted originally. I even think that we wanted Obi-Wan to be first more than anything. But they've already kind of done this in like the Rebels TV show. They had Darth Maul hunting. He was hunting Obi-Wan, and then they had one more battle on Tatooine, if you guys have never seen that. So they had Obi-Wan and Tatooine and, Darth Maul. So, I mean, look, Darth Maul's alive now, apparently. So if this is true, my thing is that this could be, he could have just signed to be an appearance in episode 9 as a Force. I mean, if it was, it could be anything, honestly.
Well,
he could have just signed something to show up and do a couple promos. I mean, if this was anything. So
they are saying that in Star Wars canon, which the Clone Wars and Rebels are a part of, that Darth Maul is alive, and that the tie-in to Solo, where Darth Maul makes his appearance, is kind of tied into that. So I don't think that they would sign Ewan McGregor just to do a cameo in episode 9, especially considering episode 9's already been shot. So my guess is that if this is true, we are going to get something that's completely Obi-Wan. Steve, what do you think about this news? Do you think it's legit? And what do you think we can expect in terms of the D23 or 24 convention?
Well, I hate to be that guy, but I'm not all that thrilled with it. It's just, I mean, I wanted to see an Obi-Wan movie, like 3PO is saying. Like, that's the first thing we wanted to see. But, they've screwed up so much. It's like, it's hard to have faith that they'll get this right. You know what I mean? So, and then plus it's, the article I read this morning said it might even be just a TV show on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
So it might not even be a movie. And I mean, it could be anything, really. It might be just something for episode 9, but either way, it's kind of like it's really hard for me to get behind anything that Disney Lucasfilm is doing right now. It's just they've blown it so many times already. I just can't. I mean, we'll see.
According to this article, there was a long rumor, but back when they were going on that spree of greenlighting Star Wars movies before The Force Awakens, where they had a bunch of movies kind of in the pipeline, where it was what do you call it? It was the Boba Fett movie.
Right.
It was the Obi-Wan movie. Like, they had a bunch of stuff, a Yoda movie, for God's sake. So the potential that they were developing an Obi-Wan centric film was definitely there. Like, they might have had some script treatments or something like that lying around. And according to this article, which I'll hop back to over here, this Mr. Hoey, or Huey, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name, sir. He's saying that according to his sources, they're basically taking the concept for the Obi-Wan movie and retooling it into a Disney Plus show. And what's interesting about this, guys, is that Marvel has like a bajillion different TV shows that they're going to be producing for Disney Plus, right? Like, we've got Wanda and Vision, we've got Hawkeye, we've got Loki, we've got Falcon and Winter Soldier, and probably like one or two others I'm forgetting. But that's a big slate for the Disney Plus service. And so far for Star Wars, we've got The Mandalorian and we've got the Cassian Andor show. And so if you add Obi-Wan into that, I think that Star Wars might be trying to start ramping up their Disney Plus offerings, because Disney is betting huge on that being a success. And another thing is, like, for D23, we were kind of complaining that Star Wars didn't really have any big announcements at Comic-Con this year. It was all focused on Marvel. So everyone was saying like, oh, the D23 is where we're going to get like the new Rise of Skywalker trailer and stuff like that. And if this is true, then this would be a big news announcement for D23 that would really kind of put Star Wars on the map. But another kind of weird thing about it, though, is like news like this, because so many people, like Matt Vader said, are excited about an Obi-Wan centric like show or movie or whatever, that it would steal a lot of thunder from the Rise of Skywalker, which not a lot of people are excited about.
Well, I think they need to do something to try and get some of us old original trilogy fans back in the fold. You know, there's a lot of us that don't like Star Wars right now, and that's because we don't relate to these new movies and characters, and and they have to do something to try to get us back. Tell us some stories about characters that we grew up with.
They tried to do that with Solo, and it failed.
Yeah, but that wasn't Solo. That was some midget wearing Harrison Ford's clothes. So,
who's to say they won't do the same thing with Obi-Wan?
Yeah, exactly.
But it's Ewan McGregor, though. We all accept him in the role. As far as Alec Guinness was in the robes for one movie, and he's dead. So
I accepted Mark Hamill as Luke, and they trashed him like no one's business. So
it just depends on what they do with the story. I mean, if the writing's good, if the production value is good, if they're respectful to the canon, I think we'll be on board.
It would be amazing.
It'll be great.
It would be amazing.
And I don't care if it's a movie or a Disney Plus show.
Steven, do you think that if Disney turns Obi-Wan into a Disney Plus TV show, that would attract more people to the platform to subscribe to it?
For the Disney, for Disney Plus, definitely it would, and that's probably what they would do. I think it would be probably a better bet for them, instead of trying another movie and having that fail again, to try to shift it more towards their streaming service. But I mean, like I said, it's like Vader said, yeah, that would be good to bring some like OG fans back in, but then also, like Drunk said, hey, Mark Hamill was in The Last Jedi, and that was terrible. So you can bring in the actors, you can bring in the original actors, but it all depends on how they handle the character. And I don't have a lot of faith in what they're gonna do with it, just based on what they've done already. So,
Jay, do you think there's a possibility that they could Rian Johnson Obi-Wan?
Oh,
Jay,
please, man.
I don't even want to think about it.
Oh my goodness, you never know. It wouldn't surprise me at this point. I honestly think that there's a lot that's going to go into their Disney Plus. They're putting a lot of money into it. They've already lost a lot of money into their streaming service, and I think they're going to really like that. That's going to be their number one. I think they're going to make a lot of movies, just like Netflix put in their Disney Plus to get people to like port over. It's starting off really cheap, but don't be surprised that once it catches on, they don't raise the price, things like that. So,
right.
Well, I definitely think that if this rumor is true, and that's a big if because it's coming from a very uncredible source at the moment. But if D23 rolls around and they make this big announcement, if this is true, I do think it's going to be a series, not a movie. And I do think it's going to be for Disney Plus. I think Disney has their film slate for Star Wars pretty well mapped out over the next couple years. And so anything new on the Star Wars front is definitely going to be a Disney Plus exclusive. My big thing is like, have they learned anything from their mistakes? And are we going to get someone who's shepherding a Obi-Wan series who actually knows what they're doing and loves the character as much as we all do?
I mean, they have Star Wars Celebration next year. What are they going to announce?
I think they're going to announce the Benioff and Weiss trilogy. That thing. I think that's going to be our first look at the new trilogy that's coming out.
Well, I mean, this would be another. I mean, if they teased it next week or 2 weeks from now, then they would have enough time to put something more together.
Maybe
an Obi-Wan Kenobi series is a huge announcement, in my opinion. So that could carry.
But they haven't announced anything yet. We just got some leak that maybe he signed a contract.
Exactly.
So
yeah, and we also haven't really heard much on the episode 9 front. Like we're getting unofficial leaks and stuff, but like nothing, no official marketing materials, and we're getting really close to being 4 months out to its theatrical release. So I'm wondering what Disney has planned for the hype train here. Anyway, we've got a couple people in the chat. So let's see here. We've got Cynical Centrist. Hey, Cynical. She says, we need to do a push to get Matt Kadish monetized. Got to get me some of that YouTube money. Disco Dev watching us on Periscope. How you doing, Disco? All right. Let's see here. They just released an Obi-Wan Qui-Gon book called Master and Apprentice, and they have a great and complex relationship. I would love to see them do flashbacks to Obi-Wan Padawan days. What do you guys think about that? Would you like to see like a recast kind of one-off movie with Qui-Gon Jinn taking on a young Obi-Wan Kenobi?
Yes. I love Qui-Gon Jinn. Awesome.
Steve?
Maybe. I guess you mean like if they recast the actors?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, I mean, it all depends on how they do it. I mean, I think they should do more. It would be nice if they did more stuff that was kind of centered towards the prequels and even like the Clone Wars, you know. So yeah, it could be interesting.
I just want an excuse to bring Liam Neeson back, like just digitally de-age him, like you did, in,
right?
You know, with Samuel L. Jackson and Captain Marvel, and have him, you know, be Qui-Gon.
Right.
They could do that with short flashback scenes. I don't think it would be too complicated for him to do that.
Well, I want a whole movie. I
want a whole
Qui-Gon Jinn movie.
How about an animated series? You know, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan adventures.
No animation.
Mm.
All right. Aaron C says Lucasfilm needs to hire a room full of good writers next. Ain't that the truth?
Right.
Do any of you guys know what the Lucasfilm Story Group does exactly?
They annoy people on Twitter.
Yeah, that too.
That's their full-time job. Just annoy the people on Twitter.
That's a perfect answer.
Matt Wally over on Periscope. Oh my God, how can anyone accept Rian Johnson's version of Luke? Shaking my head.
We don't. Nobody does.
Yeah, we don't.
Well, the story group does, apparently.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
I'd kind of like to be a fly on the wall, because you hear these rumors about JJ completely rejecting anything and everything that the Story Group throws at him here lately. So I don't know if any of that's true, but it might explain why Pablo's been so salty on Twitter here lately. So I don't know.
There's a rumor that Pablo Hidalgo has been getting crap from Kathleen Kennedy for some reason. I don't know exactly why, but apparently she's been kind of hard on him lately for something.
Yeah, I heard something like that. It's hard, you know, who knows what's true. You know, all these rumors keep flying around and you don't know who to believe. And
Aaron C says people would definitely sign up for an Obi-Wan series, and that's in the vein of the old The Fugitive series. Instead of a doctor, it's a Jedi helping people. Ooh, that's an interesting concept, Aaron. Like, you know how in the old TV show The Fugitive, he was on the run from the law, and like every episode he was, you know, in a new place being tracked down by the marshals, but you know, he'd help someone for that hour of TV, and then like he'd move on to the next place. Like that could be interesting. That'd be an interesting premise for an Obi-Wan series. Of course, the way that these new cabler shows works for the streaming platforms, they're treated more like really long movies as opposed to episodic TV series.
right.
It'd probably be more of an overarching adventure in the time between like when Obi-Wan drops off Luke and when he shows up in episode 4. So, I mean, Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, when it was
material they can work with. That's the thing. If they chose to work with it.
Yeah. Cybersonic 8472 says, I think Solo would have worked better as a show instead of having a very reference filled out in 2 hours, having new fun adventures of Han and Chewie. I think Solo could still work as a show. Like if you take the solo feature film and then spin that off into like following Kira, into like her, her relationship with Maul, and is it the Red Suns? Am I getting that right? What was the cartel that?
Not the Red Sun. It was. I only saw the movie once, so.
It was also in the Clone Wars, I believe. It was some cartel.
Oh, the ones that I can't think of it either, but I know what you're talking about.
I think that would be an interesting TV show, though. Like hire Emma Clarke to be the lead, make that movie. I think I'd watch that. I'd check it out at least. Could be cool. Cynical Centrist says, think we'll see Ewan at D23. If this is indeed true and they're going to announce it, it would be great to see him trotted out on stage to kind of like how they did with Ian McKellen, or not Ian McKellen. Who's the guy who plays the Emperor?
Ian McDermott.
Ian McDermott, yeah. So like they did at Celebration, where they brought him out to kind of proclaim that the Emperor was coming back. I think that'd be interesting.
Just long enough for him to get up there and say hello there. And
yeah,
that'd be great. So let's see here. Mladen Kulik said, is Rian Johnson still making his trilogy, LOL? As a matter of fact, yes, he is. I'm actually dropping a video about this over the weekend where I found proof that his or I should say confirmation that his trilogy is still going forward. So I don't know I know there was a lot of speculation out there that it's been canceled, but it's not. I kind of go through in the video why I think that is. Let's see here. Matt Wally on Periscope says, would you prefer to see an Obi-Wan movie, or are you happy with the TV show? Guys, which would you prefer, movie or TV show? Vader, start with you.
Probably a movie, but depending on the production value and stuff of a TV show, it should be fine too. They could make a little more long form story with the television series, so it might be better. I don't know. Either one doesn't really matter to me.
3PO, movie or TV show?
TV.
Yeah.
I don't like going to the movies much anymore. I got my home theater set up, man. I got my TV set up. I got my food there. And I got my remote if it sucks.
Even movie or TV show?
Well, I would have said movie, but yeah, 3PO makes a good point there. But well, it's like, and you touched on it earlier. There was this whole, the thing they did in the cartoon series. I think they could have left that for the movie. Just with Obi-Wan and Maul, and bring him back and have that whole showdown. Have that in an Obi-Wan movie, but they just kind of they blew it on an episode of
Yeah, I thought that was kind of weird that they put that in the Rebels show, but.
Well, they can always redo it as a live action thing. There's no rule against it.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. So I am a very big gay on Twitch. Says, hello, sexy boys.
Okay.
Hello, I am a very big gay. How you doing?
Hello.
Cynical Centrist says, Pablo was born salty. Yeah, I can see that. Aaron C says that it was Crimson Dawn as the cartel. That's where it was. Red Sun, Crimson Dawn.
That's it.
It's close enough. All right. Cynical Centrist says, I feel like I'm playing a game of 10,000 Pyramid with Matthew Kadish. Okay, well, you win. And finally, Aaron C says, it'll take Lucasfilm reorganization to kill Rian Johnson's trilogy. If it does go forward, it'll probably be streaming only. I disagree with that. First of all, Kathleen Kennedy, as long as she's in charge, Rian Johnson's not going anywhere, in my opinion. Second of all, if Kathleen Kennedy decides to retire or step down, she's going to be able to choose her successor, and that person's going to continue on with what she wants to do. And by the time Kathleen Kennedy steps down, which I believe is going to be around the year 2030, Rian Johnson's trilogy will already be kind of in the pipeline and going forward, so they won't cancel it. Matt,
10 more years?
Yeah.
10 more years, really?
Yeah.
She's gone next year, buddy.
I hate you, man. I hate you.
She has no reason to leave, and they're not going to fire her.
So what's the new girl's job? Didn't she take a lot of the stuff that Kathleen Kennedy does on her shoulder?
You mean Rejwan?
Yeah.
Michelle, I think her name's Michelle Rejwan.
I think so.
But she basically replaced Kiri Hart as the head of the story group, and she's like I think she's a development producer. So she could be the one kind of shepherding this potential Obi-Wan series. She's kind of like overseeing the development of all the future projects and stuff like that. She brings it to Kathleen Kennedy and says, hey, here's what we got planned. And Kathleen Kennedy either says yes or no. And then things go forward.
All right.
Okay, guys. So now that we've talked about Star Wars, it's time to start talking about something a little more spicy. So if you have kids watching the stream, why the hell are you letting your kids watch us? But we're going to be talking about a news story, which I found kind of interesting. And, here on the Legion of Doom, we like to talk about movies, TV shows, pop culture. And part of that is the adult entertainment industry. And this is, I consider that to be part of the entertainment industry because it's got its own culture, its own business end of things. It's got its own trade publications. Out here in Las Vegas, every year they put on their own convention, the Avian Convention, Adult Video News, which is the trade publication for the adult industry. Oh yeah, it's big out here. No pun intended. So Mia Khalifa was trending recently on Twitter, and when I went to investigate, for those of you who don't know, Mia Khalifa is a adult film actress, or she used to be anyway. And she kind of became famous for doing a sex scene in a hijab. How do you pronounce the headscarf thing that Muslim women wear? And basically, she did a sex scene wearing this traditional Muslim garb, and ISIS started trying to kill her. She was getting death threats and all this stuff. But that scene that she did went viral, and she became a bona fide star overnight. She was one of the most searched for porn actresses on the website Pornhub and all this stuff. And recently she did an interview where she kind of talked about regretting doing porn, and she's kind of trying to discourage people or young women from getting into it. And in order to do that, she claimed that she only made $12,000 during her entire porn career. Now, before we get into this article, I want to tell people that I find it interesting that her porn career only lasted a certain amount of time. Matt Vader, how long do you think Mia Khalifa's career was? How long?
6 months.
6 months. Steven, how long do you think her career was?
I don't know. 6 months, a year.
Jay, how long?
12,000?
Yeah.
30 days.
I feel like we're doing the porn prices right here. It was 3 months. It was 3 months was the entire span of her career, and she made
$12,000 in 3 months.
$12,000 in 3 months. That's about $4,000 a month, which equates to roughly $50,000 a year if you think about it. So if she had continued doing porn, she would have made $50K over the course of a year. But the interesting thing about that is that porn actresses, the way porn works is that they get paid like an upfront modeling fee per scene. So if they're doing a scene, depending on what they're doing in the scene, they get paid a certain amount of money. So for a less strenuous scene that with no penetration or something like that, they may get paid $300. But if they're going the full Monty, they might get paid $500. It depends on whoever's paying the scene. And there are a lot of porn actresses who they'll fly into LA from Wisconsin or something like that for a weekend, and they will do a couple scenes, 2 or 3 scenes per day for the weekend, make $3,000-4,000, then fly home and not work the rest of the week.
Well, you're very knowledgeable about this topic.
Oh boy.
I actually am, because I used to work in Hollywood and in Los Angeles.
There you go.
And I actually met people who were in the porn industry and had conversations with them. And I actually dated some girls who may or may not have been involved in the business. So I got information on this stuff. And so the whole idea that you don't make any money doing adult films isn't quite true. It depends on how many scenes you shoot and how often you do it and how much you get paid per scene and stuff like that. But unlike, legitimate film actors, they don't get any royalties off these things. So they're not actually making a whole lot of money doing this stuff. So I'm going to go through this New York Post article where Mia Khalifa talks about her time in the industry, and then we're going to talk about it a little bit. Ex-porn star Mia Khalifa got the Twitterverse talking on Monday night after she claimed in a tweet that she only made a total of around $12,000 in the adult entertainment industry. "People think I'm racking in millions from porn," tweeted the 26-year-old. "I made a total of around $12,000 in the industry and never saw a penny again after that. Difficulty finding a normal job after porn was scary." Khalifa, a Lebanon native, only worked in the adult business for 3 months, but was and still is one of its biggest names. After quitting, she was still ranked number 2 on Pornhub for the most searched stars in 2018, according to Vice. "To clarify, I was never promised millions, nor do I expect it," Khalifa said. "I'm just clarifying common misconceptions about me and, in turn, about the industry." Khalifa added, "I was involved in porn so briefly, but my actions spread like wildfire, and I continue to be ranked, truly baffles me, 5 years after leaving the industry, which is why people think I still perform." The tweets got Khalifa to trend on Twitter Monday night and were accompanied by a YouTube video featuring an interview she gave earlier this month, in which she tells her story for the first time. In 2014, Mia Khalifa made world news when she received death threats from ISIS after appearing in an adult film wearing a hijab, however you pronounce it. Hijab. A description reads, "For the first time ever, Mia sits down with Megan Abbott to tell her story. In the interview, Khalifa described her transition out of porn, calling it terrifying. I didn't know what I was going to do," she said. Her infamous hijab scene, which is still garnering ISIS threats as of August 2018, is what ultimately made Khalifa leave the business. "The turning point, of course, was that I did the hijab scene," she said. "That is when the ISIS death threats came in. All of the news broke out globally, not just in America. It was trending on Twitter. It was all over the news. I was banned from a handful of countries, Egypt, Afghanistan. Very Muslim companies were deeply offended by it. And I'm Catholic, so it wasn't to me, 'Oh yeah, this is bad.' What I actually said when they proposed the scene to me, and this is verbatim, was, 'You mother effers are going to get me killed.'" Describing her quick found fame, Khalifa said, "The day after the scene dropped is when everything blew up. I went from 400 followers on Instagram to like 200,000 in the span of 3 days, and then it just kept snowballing until I was at 2 million like 6 months later. This was after I had quit porn. It just kept growing and growing and growing, and then my Instagram account was hacked by ISIS." Khalifa went on to become a sports presenter after leaving the porn industry, and she hopes to continue working in that field. "I definitely want to grow my career," she said. All right, guys, so let's unpack this just a little bit. And I understand that you guys never watch porn and you're very straight-laced religious people. So, I don't want you to get in trouble by your wives and girlfriends talking about spicy topics. But
I have never seen that scene with the hijab on it ever.
Yeah. So, what do you guys think about porn actresses? Do you think that they actually make a lot of money, or what, Vader? What do you think?
Honestly, I don't know how much money they make. I mean, I'm not that knowledgeable about the porn industry. I mean, I can't see how the real popular ones don't make a lot of money. I mean, I just don't. I don't know enough about the business to really comment on it. I mean, but as far as Mia Khalifa goes, I've seen her after her porn days. I've seen her on Twitch. I think I saw her on Twitch doing a live cooking show with her boyfriend in their apartment or something weird like that. And, I mean, she's definitely turning her fame into money after porn. So
3PO, do you think there's life after porn? Like, can a porn actress go on to experience success in a regular job after she's done what she did?
If they if they do, I have no idea. I believe most of them like run websites and stuff, and they just do what they can. The only one that I know that like made a girl named Jen. She's now like a political advocate, and
Jenna Jameson.
Yeah, I think that's the one. I think she like she like goes off. She goes for Trump, like, so she does like political stuff for Trump, and she always talked about the dangers of the porn industry. And she, when I seen her on the news, she would just talk about how if she could discourage, girls to get in, going in that they shouldn't, because how the grass is not greener on that side, and it's not what everyone makes it out to be, and getting out is like disgustingly hard, and then there's no life after it. So,
well, it is kind of interesting.
That's the only knowledge I have. Like, they put her up on, and you listen to what she had to say about the whole thing. So,
well, it's interesting to hear Jenna Jameson talk about that, because there have been some breakouts from porn in the sense that, a girl does adult films and then she goes on to some mainstream success. Like, I think the first big one was Tracy Lords, and you have Jenna Jameson and that girl from Game of Thrones. But with Jenna Jameson in particular, what's interesting is, like, she made her career in doing pornography. She married Tommy Lee from Motley Crue. She created a whole brand around herself where she had like strip clubs and this big website called Club Jenna. I actually met Jenna Jameson at a Playboy party here in Vegas one time, and she was very nice. And this was around the time that she had just sold everything that she had built to Playboy. So she made a ton of money doing that, and then she became an Orthodox Jew, and that's when her political stuff kind of started, where she was, in support of Israel and all these other things. And when you follow her on Twitter, she's actually very vocal about being moral and all this other stuff. Steve, do you think that that's a little bit hypocritical for someone who made millions doing porn to still tell people not to do porn?
No, I wouldn't call it hypocritical. I think it would be hypocritical if they were doing it. But, if somebody's been through that lifestyle and they've seen the ins and outs of it, and they want to, warn other people, especially young girls, not to do it, then, I'm all for that, I think that's a good thing.
Well, the crazy thing is that even though these actresses don't make any royalties off of their scenes, there's a lot of like ancillary money to be made off their fame. Like, they can do branded sex toys and a bunch of other stuff. But in Mia Khalifa's case, this is something that I found interesting, which is, so like her Instagram feed is ridiculous. She's got 16.8 million followers. So her fame has kind of made her this Instagram influencer. And if you look at her feed here, so she's still doing modeling for like lingerie and stuff like that. She's doing commentating for sports. Like, if you were to just look at her Instagram feed, you would think that she's still in porn, but apparently she's not. And, she's kind of moved into more mainstream modeling gigs and, doing other stuff. And like Matt said, that she was also on Twitch, I think, doing some gaming stuff or in real life stuff. But if we also look at her Twitter feed here, she's got 2.76 million followers. And if you're an influencer, you can actually leverage your stuff, your followers into paying gigs. So like, people can pay her to feature their product on her Instagram feed or whatever, and she can make lots of money doing that and leverage it into like more legitimate work. And I believe that in response to Mia's claim that she only made $12,000 in 3 months, there was another film star who kind of went on Reddit to do an Ask Me Anything, and it said, adult film star who was 19 years old made as much as Mia Khalifa in 1 month than she did in an entire porn career. So this girl, I believe, what's her name? Stephanie Vixen, made $12,000 in 1 month doing adult scenes. So I'm going to read through this article real quick. Just days ago, Mia Khalifa revealed the news that shocked some people, that she made a total of around $12,000 in her three-month career as a film star. The 26-year-old wanted to change the perception that porn stars are racking in money, saying that it's completely untrue. This led fellow Pornhub star opening up about her own experiences. Stephanie Vixen is a 19-year-old amateur adult film star who started a Reddit thread to explain that she made as much as Mia Khalifa in 1 month than Khalifa did in her entire career. Stephanie claims that she hasn't started the conversation to brag, but simply wants to explain her situation, that you can make good money in the porn industry, citing Pornhub as a main source of that. And it is interesting to note that a lot of these porn girls nowadays, like, it used to be like the only venue that they had to make money was doing adult films, right? Like they get paid for their scenes. But now they've got stuff like, live camming and all these other things where they can get tips. In fact, if you look at Twitch, twitch.tv, you got girls on there who don't even do porn, but they're called titty streamers. Is that correct, Matt?
I don't know.
Okay, so like they've got these girls who wear low-cut tops and they're just playing video games and they're making a ton of money. Like I think there are people like Amaranth and Alinity and these other big female streamers who they're very pretty girls and they play video games and they make 5, 10.
Yeah, I kind of try to avoid those kind of streams. They don't do much. I like to watch people who actually play the games and are good at it instead of cleavage on front of a camera. But that's just me.
Well, the interesting thing is that there are porn stars like Mia Rose. I don't know if you guys are aware of who she is, but she was a former adult actress who now does video game streaming full time. And she's a professional esports gamer and stuff like that. And so this weird marriage of gaming and porn live streaming seems to be a trend that's going forward. And Mia Khalifa, she says that she was worried about her career prospects after porn, but it seems like she's been able to leverage it into some mainstream success pretty well. So that's pretty good.
She's got the numbers to be like a legit influencer. I mean, she's making money doing that stuff easy. So, and if she's not making money with her social media, she's doing it wrong. So she needs to hire some new representation, I think.
Jonathan Brazee, the great science fiction author, says Tara Patrick is worth $11 million. Well, interestingly enough, Tara Patrick is worth $11 million. But one of the things that I found on Mia Khalifa, which I found to be very interesting. So here's like a little article that kind of goes through some facts that not a lot of people know about her. But they said here, see if I can find it. It talks about her actual net worth. So she used to host live streams on Twitch. Khalifa's estimated net worth is reportedly $2.5 million. So she made $12,000 doing 3 months of pornography, and she's now worth $2.5 million, mostly because of her influencing ability on social media. Now, do you guys think that's a fair trade? Steven, would you do porn for $12,000 if it meant you'd eventually be worth $2.5 million?
No.
No.
No, I would not. I would not, Mr. Kiddish.
I might consider it. I mean, who knows? Drunk, do you think that her leveraging her time in porn into becoming a big influencer was a good move?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's she's got to do what she's got to do. Did she say that she was like? Correct me if I'm wrong. You said that she said that she was like unhappy that she went into pornography.
She said that she was worried that it would affect her career prospects.
Well, it doesn't look like it affected it very much. I mean, with today's internet and social media, I mean, Instagram models and everything, like they do really well. They do really well. And all it takes is one, honestly, just like she said, she made that one film and then it just exploded her social media platform, which now, people pay big dollars for her to wear whatever on her Instagram because it's like a commercial.
Actually,
I
actually think that if she hadn't gotten the death threats from ISIS, she'd probably still be doing it, honestly.
I'm trying to wrap around
That's
in my
crazy.
head how these guys in their stone buildings in the middle of Fallujah or whatever have an internet connection good enough to watch porn on the internet so they can send out their little their messages to everybody. It's crazy to me, but whatever.
I think most of these ISIS guys probably heard about it as opposed to seeing it because it's considered a sin to watch pornography, I guess.
Sure.
So they're just like, well, kill her, hack her account, kill her. I just found this story very interesting because there's a lot of different aspects to it where, most of the mainstream media will say, oh, she made $12,000 in her entire career, but they neglect to tell you it was 3 months long, and she's now worth $2.5 million, and she's a huge influencer, and she's broken into the mainstream. So it doesn't sound like porn hurt her at all, but that kind of goes against the narrative of like, hey, young women, don't do porn.
I think society's a little bit different now when it comes to that kind of stuff. I imagine like the porn stars from like the 70s and the 80s probably had a little bit of harder time breaking into the mainstream stuff after their porn careers were over than these people do now. I mean, it's just, I don't think people care that people did porn nearly as much as they used to.
So Jonathan Brazy says, I would. He'd do porn for $12,000 if it meant he'd be worth $2.5 million. That's good.
To each his own.
Yeah. Hello from our Twitch viewers who seem mostly to be trolls today. And Jimmy Vanderhorst. Hi, all. Hello, Jimmy. Hello. Thanks for coming on the stream. All right. So we're going to move on into this next story really quick. And that is that, do any of you guys know what Tumblr is?
I've never used it.
Never used it?
Yeah.
So Tumblr was a social media blogging platform that it was kind of geared more towards around like visual stuff like videos and pictures than your typical blogging software. And so it kind of blew up in the early 2000s, especially among people who like the fashion industry and artists, comic book artists and stuff like that, where they would upload a bunch of pictures and videos and people would follow them. And it really focused on micro niches, which are like very tight-knit communities that are specific to certain things. Like you could go on Tumblr and you could find blogs just about like certain types of shoes or, like Batman drawings or something like that. And it became such a phenomenon that Yahoo eventually bought it out to add it to its kind of stable of services, much like how Google bought out like Flickr and YouTube and stuff like that. Yahoo bought this out for $1.2 billion. That's with a B, 1.2 billion. And recently, Verizon had acquired Yahoo. And when that happened, there were some new rules that kind of came down the pipeline. Now, after Yahoo bought out Tumblr, one of the things that kind of took over the platform was pornography. So like we just talked about adult actresses, but with Tumblr, the thing that really built this platform up was all these kind of very niche pornography users who would use the platform to blog about their kinks and stuff like that. And when Verizon took over, they basically dropped the hammer on pornography on the platform. And overnight, once they banned all of the pornography on the platform, it tanked. Like people just stopped using it. And recently, Verizon sold off Tumblr to WordPress for, guess how much? Jay?
WordPress?
Yeah.
100 million?
Steve, how much do you think it sold for?
200 million?
Matt?
I'm going to play the prices right and say $1, Bob.
$3 million.
Wow.
Yes.
Yahoo bought it for $1.2 billion, and Verizon sold it for $3 million. And if we go over to the article here, this is at the Washington Post. It says Tumblr once sold for $1.1 billion. The owner of WordPress just bought the site for a fraction of that. Tumblr, the one-time darling of social media, sold for a whopping $1.1 billion in 2013. On Monday, and perhaps the latest mark of its decline, the site was reportedly bought for just $3 million. Twitter didn't miss a beat in pointing this out, that Tumblr's reported sale price was less than that of this bluefin tuna. BuzzFeed propped up a list of 7 condos you can buy in New York for the same price as Tumblr. So how did this happen? How did Tumblr, once a booming online startup, get swallowed up by owner of WordPress, another blogging giant and Tumblr's former rival. Let's start with Tumblr's early days. The site launched in 2007 under David Karp, who dropped out of high school at age 15 and got Tumblr up and running when he was 20. In a 2011 interview, Karp said that he had wanted to set up a blog that didn't think the traditional long-form formats like WordPress were the right fit. I had all these cool videos, links, and projects that I wanted to put out there, and I had a really hard time doing it, Karp told .NET Magazine in 2011. I wanted to do something different. I was determined not to compete with WordPress. The site picked up steam as popular bloggers and whole universities moved content over to Tumblr. Musicians, photographers, and writers followed suit. At the start of 2010, Tumblr was landing 100 million impressions every month, according to Karp's 2011 interview. By the end of the year, it had reached 3 billion. The platform also caught on in the fashion world, and Tumblr eventually hired a fashion director, and began sending bloggers to high-profile events like the New York Fashion Week. The popularity paid off. In 2013, Yahoo bought Tumblr for $1.1 billion. But Yahoo ultimately wrote off much of Tumblr's value. Verizon took over Tumblr in 2017 when it acquired Yahoo. Then this week, Automatic, which owns WordPress, took over Tumblr for an undisclosed amount and brought on about 200 staffers. Automatic said it would not disclose terms of the deal any further. Automatic chief executive Matt Mullenweg told the Wall Street Journal that he has long been a Tumblr user and sees the site as complementary to WordPress. It's just fun, Mullenweg said of Tumblr. We're not going to change any of that. Tumblr struggled to keep pace with other social media giants such as Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit, but a 2018 policy change alienated many of its users and longtime supporters. Last December, Tumblr announced a nudity ban that included photos, videos, and GIFs of genitalia and female nipples, as well as any visual depictions of sex acts. At the time, chief executive Jeff D'Onofrio wrote that there are no shortages of sites on the internet that feature adult content. We will leave it to them and focus our efforts on creating the most welcoming environment possible for the community. Until the ban, sex-focused subcultures and pornography had been tacitly allowed on the site. One BuzzFeed reporter estimated that there were hundreds of thousands of blogs that would be shut down, plus millions of individual posts containing adult content. As the Washington Post's Abby Olheiser wrote last year, Tumblr had long been considered a safe space for exploring identity, but some creators said Tumblr's ban eliminated a place where LGBT communities and other people with marginalized gender and sexual identities found support. Last year's ban added to Tumblr's decline. Monday's sale was the latest kick. After Axios editor Dan Primiak reported that Tumblr sold for less than $3 million, one Twitter user quipped, "Tumblr's porn blogs could have literally had a GoFundMe to buy the entire platform. I'm extremely upset that no one told us Tumblr was for sale for an amount we could have kickstarted," said another. Granted, not everyone was sold, said another. The most interesting thing about the Tumblr acquisition is that everyone on Twitter apparently has more than $3 million lying around. So, Jay, what do you think of this this news?
It's pretty sad. That's like the guy he sold way back when like MySpace was a thing.
Oh yeah,
he sold that for like 700. Tom, he sold that for like 700 million, and then after he sold it, it just. I don't know if anybody. I don't. Is it still like I don't even know if it's up and running. To be honest with you, but that is the biggest loss I think I've ever heard.
Well,
what a horrible investment.
Yeah. Now, Matt, I know you gotta get going soon, so why don't we hear your thoughts on this?
Bad business, man. I mean, I don't really know what to say about the whole thing. I don't use Tumblr, never did, and it's really bad. It's sad. So.
Well, Matt, thank you for coming on the stream today. Everyone, go follow Matt at MattVader74 on Twitter, and also check out his Twitch channel, which I believe is MattVader74 as well.
No, it's Mixer.
Mixer, sorry.
Mixer. Yeah, I'm just starting that up. Gonna play some games over there. It's at Matt
Ninja.
Yeah, the one Ninja moved to. It's actually, it's a really cool platform. I never had tried it out before then, so just started that up this week. I'm going to be playing some games over there, and I'm just using Matt Vader with no 74. And YouTube, and Twitter at MattVader74. So yeah. All right, that's it. Have fun, guys.
All right, thanks for coming on, Matt. Now, Stephen, you are an artist.
Yes.
And quite a good one, if I do say so
you.
myself. So you probably know more about Tumblr than the rest of us do, right?
Yeah. I used to use Tumblr, but I got off a while ago. It got weird.
It's funny. Like when I used to do comic conventions to sell my books, I would meet a lot of artists whose work I'd seen on Tumblr. I'd be like, "Oh, you're that guy who drew this," and they're like, "How did you know about that?" And I'm like, "I saw your Tumblr. You're Tumblr famous." You know? What do you think of this huge decline in Tumblr's value?
Well, I think that's what it became known for. That's the issue. It's
Porn?
like, yeah, because that's what everybody. I mean, that was just like, SJ. That became like SJW Central. That was the hangout spot. Is Tumblr. So, I used to post my artwork there, and I wouldn't get any traction. It's just like, what is going on? And then I found out, well, the only art that gets traction on Tumblr is like cartoon pornography and all this. I'm
like furry porn and
just all the all the weird stuff, if I can say that. That's where it all ends up on Tumblr. So
Stephen J, another big thing on Tumblr were like shipping blogs where you see the Raylo crowd would be putting art.
And this is why I probably never went on there.
Well, like you'd see like a lot of like stuff with like Rey and Kylo Ren like having sex and stuff like that on some of these blogs. It was really strange, but there were like all these micro communities on there that focused on different kinks and different types of fetishes, and a lot of it was user based stuff. So like it was individual users, it wasn't companies or anything like that. So it was very personal, and like the article said, it was actually a safe place for people to explore their identity and kind of get involved in different communities in a way that wasn't threatening, and it was very interesting. But here's the thing though. So the decline of Tumblr started when they banned all nudity and pornography and stuff. What do you think has happened since WordPress took over?
Oh, well, I'm guessing they put it back, right?
The porn is back.
Right.
So like if you go on Tumblr and you start looking for porn, it's once again there, whereas before it was all blocked. So I think WordPress kind of knows where its bread is buttered on this. So it could be kind of interesting.
Right. I mean, yeah, it is what it is. So, they, you can't really take over a site and kind of fundamentally change it like that and expect for everybody to just go along with it. So, probably wasn't the smartest idea.
Yeah. We have a comment from Cybersonic8472. I wouldn't trust those online net worth estimates. The guys behind Death Battle looked themselves up and said if they had even a tenth of what they said to have, they would be retired. That's a good point. Mia Khalifa might not actually be worth 2.5 million. However, that's net worth. So that includes her house, her car, like stuff like that. Yeah. But it might also include the value of her Instagram account and her Twitter account as an influencer. So at the very least, I would say $500,000 would be like her net worth at the very least. And that's still pretty good. I don't know. Do you guys think $500,000 of net worth is a good price for having had sex for 3 months?
No. It all depends on who you ask.
Jay says no. 12 months of sex, $500,000. Not a good.
I mean, it's just it's just out there forever,
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. It's like out there forever. So if you had a moral compass change, if you had, if she really, like wanted to run for Congress or something down the road, down the road, it's just forever out there.
Right.
So, like I remember they gave like the Trump's wife, like she got a little hell for, her past photos and stuff kept coming back. I mean, she wasn't the one that run, but it's just forever out. It's out there. Once you put it out there, it's forever out there.
Yeah. Ruin the Man Baby is in the chat. He says, King of the Man Babies, just dropping by to say hi to my bros. Ruin, if you want to join, I'm going to send you a link to come on in if you want to. So let me just do that real quick.
What's
just
up?
In case. You guys want to chat with Mr. Man Baby himself?
Sure. Of course.
Let me see if I can do this real quick. Sorry for the dead air time, guys.
No, that's okay. So yeah, it's like what Jay was saying. It's just like, I mean, money is nice and all, but money's not everything. And sooner or later you're gonna burn through that anyway. But that stuff, especially when you put it on film, that's there forever. You can never really get away from that. So, is it worth it? Yeah, it depends on who you ask, I guess.
Well, I also think that there's an unfair stigma for girls who do porn. Like, they're kind of looked down upon. And I don't think a lot of that is warranted. But that's just my personal opinion. Reaction Time 27, watching from Mixer. I love web shows, and we love you. Thank you for watching us. Let's see here. Cybersonic 8472 says, just listen to a stream by Matt Pat and he brought out the point that when they put out the nudity ban, the algorithm was way out of whack, and they gave the example of Garfield pics being banned for nudity. Yeah, that's because of the pussycat type stuff, I guess. But yeah, Tumblr, when they did drop the ban hammer on all the pornography that was going on the site, it was a wide swath of stuff that they started cracking down on. Ruin says Stephen Wayne still hiding those good looks. Stephen Wayne art. Nobody knows what he looks like.
I know what he looks like.
A few people know. A few people.
You should let the world know.
Ruin, I sent you the link on Twitter, so if you want to hop on in, feel free to do so. Try to get in before our next story, because I'd love to have your take on this. But yeah, we're going to move on here in a little bit. Okay, so this next story I find very interesting. It's from The Hollywood Reporter, and it says, box office, Democrats go to more movies than Republicans. So in this age of divisive political strife and partisanship, we have even more proof of a divide between the political parties. This statistic is part of a 7-year survey released by exit polling service PostTrack. And for those of you who don't know, PostTrack is an exit polling service that specializes in kind of like polling people after they see a movie to see whether or not it has, hit all the right marks. Democrats go to the movies twice as much as Republicans, a new study finds. The statistic was among many tidbits included in a 7-year survey celebrating the 1,000th movie surveyed by industry leader PostTrack, an exit polling service founded by Rentrack, now owned by ComScore, and Screen Engine. And ComScore, I believe, is the company that does the cinema score stuff for movies. Everyone likes to point out that The Last Jedi received an A+ cinema score, so it must be good, but then they don't really understand that cinema score is just a measure of how effective a movie's marketing was, not how good a movie is. Mm-hmm. During that time period, Democrats frequented the movies far more than Republicans, or 12.4% versus 5.5%. Ditto for independents at 7.2%. The same also held true for ticket buyers who identified themselves as liberal and conservative, 10.1% versus 5%. Nearly 10% of moviegoers didn't state their political affiliation. The PostTrack survey, touching on everything from streaming preferences to demo breakdowns to religious affiliation, includes information drawn from 1.25 million interviews. PostTrack has found that the most prevalent genre is drama, while the highest rated genre is adventure. Interestingly, audiences are the most generous in their responses in November, home to the Thanksgiving holiday, and the harshest in January. Nearly 25% of consumers polled over the years see 3 movies in a 2-month period, conforming to the frequent moviegoers' fuel of the box office. In terms of age breakdown, 2019 mirrors other years so far, in that consumers between the ages of 18 and 34 are the biggest movie-going demo at 27%, followed by the ages 25 to 34, 23%. For the full 7 years, the breakdown is 25% and 20% respectively. Then it goes on to a few more demographic things here, which we really don't need to talk about. But this is an interesting politics and religion graph, which we can see politically liberal and Democrat people are the highest amount of moviegoers versus no party affiliation. But Christians make up the biggest demographic here at 13.3%, which is very interesting. So what I would like to do before we get into this is welcome Ruin the Man Baby Johnson.
Hello there, man babies. How are we doing this evening?
Welcome, Mr. Johnson. Thank you for coming on my stream. I hope you subvert our expectations and ruin it appropriately.
Always up for a good bit of a ruination. How's my man Jay?
I'm awesome, brother.
And Stephen, good to see you. I can see. Well, I can't see Stephen. He's always hiding, but I know he's there. Those dulcet tones of Mr. Wayne.
What's up, Ruin?
Stephen Wayne's he's like Captain Phasma. He always hides behind anonymity.
That's maybe the worst insult I've heard today. And hello to all the man babies in the chat room. Hello, and congrats, Matthew. You're now a fully fledged streamer. You're doing such a great job. I was on your podcast. Keep it up.
Yes. For those of you who haven't seen the Roundtable Review podcast with Ruin Johnson and I, we took a look at Goonies, and that's available over on my channel if you want to check it out. It was a lot of fun. But Ruin, what I want to know is, what do you think of this divide with more Democrats and liberals going to see movies than Republicans and conservatives?
I'm discarding the Ruin character, if you don't mind, because I've got a beer and I can't drink beer through the mask.
Anthony Ergo, where did you come from?
Hey, what?
From god-awful director to mediocre author. There we go. Yeah, wow. I didn't expect to come on and talk about this. You talk about porn, now you're talking about politics, religion, and movie. Go, wow, this is cool.
Yeah, we covered the gamut here on the Legion of Doom.
So I don't get how political persuasion has anything to do. Well, I do in a way because of the amount of politics we get in modern movies, but I don't know why more Democrats would go than Republicans. So I've got to try and line this up because over in the UK we have like left and right. It's Conservative and Labour, but we're all over the place at the moment. There's a lot of crap going on.
Labour is like liberal Democrat out here in the United States.
Yeah, I mean, there's a weird thing at the moment. We've moved from, I don't want to get too much into UK politics, but we've moved from like 2-party politics to 4-party politics. So
the Brexit Party, and
that's the one.
The Brexit Party is probably closer to the politically conservative movement out here. So
I can answer this real quick.
Yeah, go ahead, Jay.
Younger people will always identify themselves as Democrat.
There you go.
College students always, even when they don't believe that what the Democrats stand for.
Right.
They just, I mean, at the school, I work for, everyone's a Democrat. All the kids are Democrat. They don't even vote. They're but they just consider themselves that. It's a pop culture thing to do, to follow their favorite actors, hip hop stars and everything else, is to go that liberal nonsense. It's when they start paying taxes, they go,
right.
Yeah, I need to change my affiliation or anything like that. So a lot of young people go to the movies. A lot of young people see a lot of trash movies that I wouldn't pay to go see. They'll just go see it. Just because I hear about it in the school. All of us went and saw this movie. I was like, did you like it? No, it was dumb, but we went anyway. It was just a way for them to get out of the house. So if they're polling when people are leaving the films, it wouldn't surprise me that the majority of the younger people would just say that they're Democrat, even if they're Christian, even if they're whatever. It just wouldn't surprise me,
right?
Whatsoever.
Stephen, what do you think is the reason of this divide?
Yeah, no, I think Jay hit the nail on the head. That's when I was younger, I used to go to the movies all the time, and if you asked me then what I was, I would have said Democrat. But like you said, once I got a job and started paying taxes, things started to change. Plus, I don't go to the movies as much anymore, so I think that has a lot to do with it.
Well, another interesting factor that we might be ignoring is that a lot of Republicans and conservatives don't like the political messaging that Hollywood's been putting out. And so in protest, they're just not going to see the movies because they're not interested in being preached to for something that they don't believe in, which also kind of feeds into this vicious cycle of Hollywood being like, well, we don't have to cater to Republicans and conservatives because they don't see our movies. So we want to cater to our primary crowd, which might be one of the reasons why we're seeing so many female reboots and SJW casting choices and stuff like that. Ruin, what do you think about that?
Yeah, definitely some truth in the kind of the age divide thing. Not to stray too far from it because there is a natural link between them, but we see it over here in comedy as well. So probably 90 to 95% of comedy shows or comedians are left wing, which is weird when really it's almost like a 50-50 balance. So that's obviously filtering to movies as well, and yeah, definitely the age thing is there. But can we not just get politics out of movies? I know there's some movies naturally which will, require to delve into, certain areas of politics, but, the kind of, the geek culture stuff, the superhero movies, Star Wars, I don't know about you guys, but I go to get away from all that crap. I've got friends, I've got family who every time I see my dad, we have a head-to-head on politics, in good spirits. But, I've got friends, I was out with friends of the weekend, again, totally different points of view, but we're friends, we're family, we can put it to one side. And if there's one place you can go, it's in that big dark room and watch the big screen and just get away from all that crap for a couple of hours. And now it's filtering in to the movies we love, and it's disappointing.
Jay, I wanted to ask you about this. So one of the more interesting things about this survey here is that people who are religious, like they go to church weekly, they consider themselves Christian, seem to go to a lot of movies. What do you think about that? Especially considering that Democrats and politically liberal people don't consider themselves to be particularly religious.
Because religious people don't really go to the bars and hang out. They don't really go to a lot of other, I guess you'd say, like adult things that other adults would probably do. So they probably won't spend a lot of their money going to different things here and there. So they'll just go to the movies. That's a way to go out with the family and spend time together, as a family. That's why I think like these reboots and all that stuff, there was no doubt in my mind they were going to do well, no matter whether they were boring or not. It was just a way that I could take my kids and they'll enjoy it if I hate it or not. And that's a good time. That's like 2 hours. And then I'm ready to, then you're ready to go. So living next to Orlando, taking a family to Disney World will cost you a couple $1,000, and the movies won't. Also, you're not going to take your kids to the, out to the strip club or adult club or to the bar or anything like that. So, a lot of religious families probably just end up doing that, going to the movies together. I know, like with the youth groups and stuff around here, they do youth group trips to the movies all the time. So, just one of them things, something to do.
It is interesting because people who are very focused on religion tend to be very family oriented. And so like they probably go to the movies quite often to see like, kids films and things like that. Another interesting thing to consider might be, just dating. A lot of very religious people, like when they go out on dates, like you said, they don't like to go out to the bars or do anything crazy. So a movie is like a nice, safe kind of venue with which to, kind of go on a date.
I mean, just for an example, in this area that I'm at, they have like I love playing golf. I like playing mini golf. I play in mini golf tournaments for like big bucks. All right, just to show you how ridiculously stupid I am as a person. But they like the mini golf courses and all the stuff over here. They have like Christian night. The bowling alleys. It's like go bowling and go to a movie. It's like Tuesday nights is Christian night. They'll play Christian music and so they cater to that stuff here in Orlando because they know that And Christians pack it out, man. I mean, they pack it. That's like the most busiest night I think I've ever seen some of these places. So it's definitely something. And even like some of the movie theaters, they'll have like they'll offer like specials to like church groups and youth groups and stuff like that. So
right.
You guys remember Passion of the Christ, the Mel Gibson movie about Jesus?
Yeah.
And
that wasn't really a youth group worthy film.
Well, the interesting thing
terrible
about that
date movie as well.
Terrible date movie. But the interesting thing about that movie was that its massive success was geared entirely around the church population. So like they would show the movie in these mega churches where the entire congregation would get together and watch this movie, and then they'd go and see it in the theater to kind of support it, like financially and stuff like that. So the church crowd is very kind of centered around like this type of like box office and stuff. Right. I do find it interesting that Republicans and conservatives by and large kind of like sit out of the movie theater.
I'm telling you, when you walk out of the theater and someone's got a survey and they say, are you Republican or Democrat? People will say Democrat because they don't want to deal with it. Like the younger people, I'm telling you.
Well, there's that too. But Stephen, I want to get your opinion on this because Jay actually mentioned earlier that he's got like the home theater set up. A lot of Republicans and conservatives are very career oriented, so they have jobs and like they don't like to go out at night, and they got more disposable income to kind of buy these like fancy theater setups. Yeah. So like they may watch way more movies than Democrats, but they do it at home. What do you think about that theory?
Yeah, you might be onto something there. I think, I never really thought about it being a split between Democrats and Republicans. I think of it more of like the age group. I see a lot of young people go to the movies, not so many older people go. But then I think people who are older tend to be Republicans. So I think there's kind of there's a ratio right there, So it goes hand in hand.
All right. Well, I know Drunk 3PO has to get going. Jay, thank you so much for coming on the stream.
Thank you for inviting me, man. I appreciate it. And it was good to see Steven and you, Matthew, and my good buddy, Ruin, man. My good buddy.
Good to see you, man.
You too.
Good to see you guys again.
Have a good one, buddy. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah. Take care, y'all.
Take care.
All right. So that was an interesting little political aside. But now let's talk about...
Can I make one observation before we move on?
Yeah, go ahead.
There's a really interesting, I might have read it wrong. I don't know if you can get that chart back up again, but on the breakdown of, different religions, there it is. So you've got on the far right, you've got Church Weekly, and then next to it, very religious. I'd say Church Weekly is very religious, but it's I mean, what's very religious? Like everyday church, or is it? Oh God, wow. That's an interesting
there are people who just go to church and that's like their obligation to their religion for the week. Then there are people who actually volunteer at their churches and do like church activities and
more than
do Bible study and charity work and stuff like that. So I know when I was growing up, I was the Church Weekly type because my mom would drag us to church every Sunday, even though I wouldn't have considered my family very religious. So I think that's a distinction there.
Oh, okay.
But it is interesting how this is like grayed out. Like, oh, this isn't important.
Yeah,
this is the important stuff.
Doesn't warrant color.
Yeah. All right, so we've talked about our political and our adult stuff for the day. Now let's talk about some fun movie news. And what we're going to be talking about now is the big news that Neil Blomkamp, the director of District 9 and known for his science fiction work, he was going to be rebooting the Robocop franchise over at MGM, and he has now exited from that project. This comes to us from HN Entertainment. It says, Neil Blomkamp announces he has exited Robocop returns. MGM will move on without him. Earlier today, writer-director Neil Blomkamp, District 9, announced on his official Twitter account that he has exited MGM's Robocop sequel, Robocop Returns. Instead, he'll shoot a new horror thriller that seemingly would have happened first, and MGM won't be waiting around for him. Alluding to another director will be announced in the near future, as the studio wants to begin shooting soon. And this is Neil Blomkamp's tweet where he just says, "Off Robocop. I'm shooting a new horror thriller and MGM can't wait. Needed to shoot Robocop now. Excited to watch it in theaters with other fans." Blomkamp hasn't had the best of luck with projects lately, with 20th Century Fox suddenly ending Alien 5 during its development pre-production stages, after it got bought out by Disney, by the way. This year was about to shoot Greenland, starring Chris Evans, only for him to pivot to Robocop script development. Neil was recently working with screenwriter Justin Rhodes, who wrote Terminator Dark Fate, on a new draft of the script said to be a direct sequel to the original 1987 film directed by Paul Verhoeven and starring Peter Weller. Hopefully this new horror thriller will be worthwhile and he'll actually get something made in the next year or so, because it's been a while. I think his last movie was Chappie. As for Robocop Returns, MGM has yet to announce a replacement for Blomkamp, and if they are indeed keen on getting the film underway, we'll start hearing names very soon. So I actually did a little article about this on my website a while back where Blomkamp kind of gave us an update on what was happening with Robocop Returns. And basically, it was meant to be a direct sequel to the original Robocop. It was going to be R-rated. He was going to treat it like a Paul Verhoeven film, so he was going to kind of direct it in that same style and all that good stuff. But with Neil Blomkamp leaving, it is now up in the air who's going to be taking this over, but it still seems to be going forward as MGM is kind of keen to get it moving forward. Now, on its surface, this looks like a scheduling conflict. Like Neil Blomkamp had a horror thriller that he was set to direct that conflicted with the start of this shooting date that MGM wanted to get going with. But, you know, it could have been that he just left the project because he was having conflicts over his vision with MGM. Ruin, Anthony, what do you think about this news?
Well, firstly, I'm a huge Robocop fan. I used to watch that as a kid. I mean, like, you know, a 10, 11-year-old. And it's only when I've gone back to it at an older age, I realized how horrific that movie is. I mean, you know, that is a seriously brutal film. I can't believe I watched it so young. I was just looking through his filmography, this Neil Blomkamp. I'm actually not, I don't think I've seen much of him. I mean, I've heard of the likes of Elysium, District 9. He's did a couple recently, Raqqa and The Escape. Not familiar with those, but yeah, they've got to get it right. I mean, you know, it's such an iconic character, Robocop. The original was so good. I think we're at that point in time now where you've got to be of a certain age to really, you know, recall the original. You know, it's a bit of a cult classic, but they've got to get it right. So whoever they bring in is you know, they've got to capture the essence of that original character. You know, we don't need some kind of crappy kind of modern day take on it. You know, I want that original vibe that they had. So interesting to see who they bring in, but take as long as you need with it, because don't ruin another of my favorite films. Please don't do that.
So what if MGM replaced him with Rian Johnson? What would you say to that?
Boy.
Oh man. Well, that keeps me going on Twitter for at least another 3 years. So yeah.
Stephen, what do you think of this news, and who would you like to see take over from Blomkamp?
Gee, I don't know. I mean, I think the only movie I've seen from him was like District 9, but I can, you know, he has that style like the original RoboCop movies, so I could see where he would have been good for that. But then it's like Anthony said, it's like you really have to get the essence right, and I don't know too many directors these days who can really do that. You know, it's like so many remakes and reboots and sequels these days. They're all just like so shallow. You know, they just focus on trying to get a certain look, but they just don't get the feel of the character or the story. And you know, it's hard to come up with somebody who could really, I think, pull it off.
Well, I think that we're ignoring the obvious here. Why not just get Paul Verhoeven to come back and do it? I mean, what's he up to lately? He hasn't been doing anything.
Yeah,
I'd be down for that. Yeah, I mean, the other one I thought, but it won't happen. But I'd love to see Ridley Scott get his hands on it.
I don't know about that. Ridley Scott hasn't been very good lately.
No, you didn't like the last Blade Runner?
He didn't do that. That
He
was
didn't. He wasn't involved in that.
No, no.
Oh, that was Dennis Villeneuve.
Well, yeah, him.
Oh, was you're right.
Yeah,
I'd still like him to give it a go, but you know, I think he'd take an interesting take on it. But who did you say, Matthew?
I said Paul Verhoeven, the guy who directed
Verhoeven.
the original RoboCop.
Yeah. Well,
You know,
yeah. I mean, again, what has he been up to? But if anyone knows the character, the vibe, you know, then he does. And yeah, I mean, wow, is that I can't think of too many examples where the you know, sort of decades later, the original director has then done the reboot. There can't be many.
Well, this isn't a reboot. This is actually a direct sequel to RoboCop. At least under Blomkamp's initial vision, it was going to be a direct sequel to the movie. So he was going to kind of carry on what Verhoeven started, and he was going to direct it in the same style and stuff like that. And I'm really wondering what the motivation is behind this departure, because it just seems suspect to me. Like if MGM really wanted to go forward with this, they would have pushed it back a little bit or something like that. But a little rough there. All right, so we're going to get to some chats here. So we got Kermit the Log. He says, "Hail, ruin the man baby." So we've got some man baby fans watching the stream.
I've pushed it out on Twitter, so we might get some of my man baby army join us.
Mladen Kulik says, "I think it's a smart move to exit RoboCop's sequel to do his own original movie." Maybe, like Blomkamp hasn't had a movie in quite a while. His stuff keeps getting canceled. I think the last thing he did is he directed a commercial for Anthem, the video game, and he went way over budget with it or something. But the video game the commercial had very little to do with the video game, and people who saw it were like, "What is this advertising exactly?" It's like it was very different from the game. Did either of you play that Anthem?
No, I've seen it, but I haven't played it.
No.
Right on.
I haven't played gaming since the Sega Mega Drive, or was it his Genesis in your part of the world? That's the last time I gamed.
Wow.
That was a long time.
Yeah, you're showing your age there, Anthony. Jesse Miller, hey boys. Hey Jesse. Jesse's a friend of the stream.
Hey.
I just did a Midnight's Edge live stream with him yesterday. William McLaughlin says they could always get Uwe Boll to direct RoboCop. And for those of you who don't know, Uwe Boll is the worst director ever in the history of cinema. He basically, as a German tax shelter, he bought out all these rights to different video games and made terrible movie versions of them.
Oh yeah, I know that guy.
Yeah, he did what was that zombie video game? Island of the Dead or something like that. I forget. You know what? Let me call up Internet Movie Database so I can tell you guys exactly how bad of his movies were.
While you're doing that, I mean, what good computer game movies are? Because we've got this Sonic one still coming, haven't we? Which just looks.
We've never had a good video game movie, but this guy brought it to a different level in terms of how bad it was.
Okay.
So he did House of the Dead. That's the one.
Oh yeah.
He did Alone in the Dark, Blood Rain, Dungeon Siege, which came out as In the Name of the King. And if you guys have ever seen any of these movies, like they are really bad. He did Far Cry, the Far Cry movie. Couple of other Blood Rain ones. It's just like he actually tried to do the Warcraft movie, but Blizzard wisely enough told him to take a hike. So it was he's just widely known. He's worse than Ed Wood, apparently. So people believe that he is legitimately the worst filmmaker to ever live.
Ever, huh?
Yeah.
I thought sort of like computer games made into movies. I held out hope for Assassin's Creed when I heard they had Fassbender lined up, and I thought it was the kind of a kind of narrative and a setting that I thought this could work. And they've got a really good actor in, and then I saw it, and it was dreadful. So
it was a very boring movie. Hollywood has yet to crack the video game adaptation. I think the last one I saw was the new Tomb Raider, and that was okay. I think I put it on the same level as Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
So Mladen Kulik says, I don't think he is interested in making it in Hollywood. So basically thinking that Neil Blomkamp doesn't care about being a big Hollywood director. He just wants to make his own movies. I guess I could see that. He comes from South Africa. He's kind of, what's his name? Peter Jackson's protege. So, he's got that going for him. I'd buy that for $1, but seriously, some movies don't need reboots or sequels.
Yeah.
This is true.
Bravo.
Mr. Kulik also says Robert Rodriguez would be a good choice to direct it. Hopefully he's busy with Alita 2 at this point. But we don't know. Paul Verhoeven is 81. 81.
That's all right.
He could still direct a movie at 81. I don't know why he wouldn't. Let's see here. Or Wes Ball, who did Maze Runner. Well, that was a pretty good movie. I could see that. Neil Blomkamp has Oat Studios on YouTube where he directed short films. So he was a YouTuber to start off with. Huh? Interesting. And Jamie Vanderhorst says Assassin's Creed was way worse than Tomb Raider. Yeah, I guess. I found both movies very boring. That's just me. Steve, did you see either of those films?
No. I got burned out on video game movies a long time ago. It's just, like you said, they just can't get them right for some reason. I mean, the Angelina Jolie Tomb Raider movies were okay, I
hated those.
But yeah, I mean, for what they were okay. But I don't think I've ever seen any video game movie go beyond mediocre, except maybe Mortal Kombat back in the day.
Mortal Kombat's probably the best of the batch.
Yeah.
In terms of video game adaptations. Ruin, did you ever see Mortal Kombat?
No, I didn't. I saw Street Fighter with Van Damme. That's right, isn't it? Van Damme and Street. But like Steven says, you kind of, you try them and they're just awful. I don't know what it is. I think one of the worst, which I didn't watch, maybe watch 5 minutes, was didn't they make one on Battleship?
Yes. Yes.
I mean, what? Yeah,
I don't count that though because that was a board game adaptation. That was not a video game adaptation.
Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, of all the board games as well. Wow.
Yeah. But in terms of Street Fighter, the real shame of that movie was Raul Julia's last performance. You remember that? He played M. Bison. He was a great actor, and he actually contracted some type of weird tropical disease while shooting that movie and died shortly after.
Whoa.
And it was just like what a terrible end to such a great actor. That's what I remember that movie for.
Yeah, I remember that. I saw that movie on my birthday when it came out. And even as a kid, like me and my brother, we saw that and we were just like, this is horrible. It was just like one of the worst movies ever. But it was almost like some movies are so bad you like it. It was almost like that. But yeah, I remember it being Raul Julia's last movie, and it was just like.
Did you ever see The Legend of Chun-Li, the follow-up to the?
Oh no, I did not.
That was even worse.
It looked worse in the trailers. I didn't ever even bother. I forgot about it until you just brought it up.
Go on YouTube and look at some like the Ralph the Movie Maker or people's videos who review it. It's actually more entertaining than the movie itself.
I'll bet. Yeah.
Prince of Persia: Sands of Time 2010 is the best movie game adaptation. I disagree. I did not like that movie at all.
That either.
Yeah, not seen it.
3 words: Super Mario Brothers.
Actually, good shout. In fairness, it's probably the pick of the bunch, isn't it? Really, I mean,
that movie was a terrible adaptation. Though.
Are we talking Bob Hoskins here? Is that the one?
Yeah.
Bob Hoskins with his Latino brother. Jonathan Leguizamo as Luigi.
What the?
I thought
what
the Bob Hoskins casting was good. We have to come on.
Yes,
we got to give it that.
That was a good casting call. But then they cast a Hispanic brother to play his Italian brother. It was the weirdest thing. And then Dennis Hopper as King Koopa.
Yeah, but he was like a dinosaur gangster. I was like, what?
Yeah, and the Mushroom Kingdom became like the cyberpunk dystopia.
Yeah.
Like it was a terrible adaptation. It had almost nothing to do with Mario Brothers other than when they got into their costumes.
I don't understand how movies like that get made. I just don't. The mentality, you know.
Like someone like Bob Hoskins. Do you not think like about? So halfway through the shooting, he must be just a thought, "Oh, what have I done here? What am I doing?
Well,
Get me out of this."
He might have been thinking that during Who Framed Roger Rabbit, because that was such an off the wall production, and so he might have been like, "Well, I've been through this before.
Right.
Give it a shot."
Well, famously, Alex Guinness did in Star Wars. He was not sold on that at all. He thought it was a disaster. He hated it. He had nothing good to say about it. So, yeah, he was wrong. All the rest were probably right.
But which is your favorite movie based on a video game, if you had to pick one?
God, it's tough, isn't it? It's tough because there's not been a lot of good ones.
Of the bad choices that we have, I would say mine is probably Warcraft.
Okay, yeah.
Steven, what about you?
Yeah, I haven't seen Warcraft yet. I would have to say Mortal Kombat, probably.
Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, as far as out of all the ones I've seen, that's the only one that even though they changed a lot with it, I remember as a kid watching that, and they did get the feel right, And as a kid, it was fun, it was exciting to watch the movie. So I think they did the best they could with that one. But yeah, there haven't been too many good ones though.
I'll go Street Fighter for mine. I know it's terrible, but I was a big Van Damme guy, and I was that age, and yeah.
I'm still a big Van Damme guy. Have you seen his Amazon original, Jean-Claude Van Johnson?
No,
you haven't seen Jean-Claude Van Johnson?
No, I don't have Amazon, so no. I'll find other means.
I got to do an aside just to pitch you this concept.
Okay.
So Jean-Claude Van Damme is a down on his luck actor playing himself. Okay, he's actually Jean-Claude Van Damme in the show.
Right.
He's recruited by a secret government agency, played by Bill Cosby's wife from The Cosby Show, and basically he gets the new moniker Jean-Claude Van Johnson as his spy name. And while he's abroad shooting movies as Jean-Claude Van Damme, he moonlights as a secret agent to take down a terrorist organization.
Oh. What?
And it incorporates Time Cop into its narrative. So there's time travel in it.
It sounds like Rise of Skywalker. So what's his name again? Jean-Claude Ruin Johnson.
Yes. But the fake movie he's shooting as his cover is a action adventure version of that Mark Twain book, Huckleberry Finn, and it's called Huck. and Jean-Claude plays Huckleberry Finn as a karate wielding adult expert, and you literally have to see this show to believe it, because it is so off the wall, but it's brilliant. It's really funny.
Okay,
it sounds like it.
Yeah, it's great. So Jimmy, yes, it not only sounds awesome, it is awesome. I don't know if they're coming back for a second season, but they definitely should, because they kind of left it open to do that. And Jean-Claude is great in it. Like he knows it's the joke. He knows he's the joke of the thing, and he just embraces it. It's actually fantastic. Detective Pikachu is great. I don't count that as a video game adaptation because Pokemon was a card game.
Yeah.
Laying down the rules here.
I have not seen JVCD yet, but I've heard good things. I don't know. That's more of a dramatic role, I think. Hard to say. Oh no, Jean-Claude Van Johnson's been canceled. That's a shame.
What?
But you can still get the first season on Amazon, and it's definitely worth checking out just because it's so ridiculous. I could see why they would cancel it though. Like I wouldn't say it was a good film or a good TV show, but for what it was trying to do, and if you're like a fan of Jean-Claude Van Damme, it's absolutely fantastic. a lot of really good Van Damme moments in it, and he actually plays multiple characters in the show.
Oh, no.
So, like it's showing off his acting chops.
Well, either that or they thought we're going to get our money out of Van Damme. We've got him here. He's gonna play half the cast. He did. You probably had them over at your side of the pond as well. He did some TV commercials here. It was one of the beers. I can't remember which one, but he was really funny in it. He had this kind of clip-on mullet thing, and he was doing all the moves in like these icy sort of conditions. It was really, really funny actually. It was like that, self-deprecating. So obviously he's took it onto this Amazon feature as well.
I think the last commercial he did out here, he was doing the splits between two moving semis, like big semi trucks, and he was just like between them, like with doing his iconic splits, and holding like a beer or something like that. I don't know what exactly, but I know that I think on YouTube there's a big making of documentary about this commercial because it was like kind of dangerous for him to do. But I think that was the last thing I saw him in terms of like new stuff out here. He should do more movies though. He's such a classic. He's kind of getting to that Stallone Schwarzenegger period in his career where they just don't give a fuck. So they're just doing whatever they want. And I think like he's kind of doing that too. But we got one last movie news story to get to. And this is from Bloody Disgusting, the great news website that covers horror movies. And it says Netflix's The Babysitter gets sequel with McG returning to direct. From his extraordinarily weak Terminator Salvation to his most recent Netflix films, Rim of the World and The Babysitter, McG continues to fail to impress me. The latter must have been a hit for the streaming service as the sequel is in the works. In fact, according to the latest issue of Production Weekly, McG is set to get back behind the camera for Babysitter 2 as early as October. The Babysitter followed a lonely 12-year-old boy who falls in love with his hot babysitter only to discover that she's part of a satanic cult that wants to kill him. Samara Weaving carried the entire film on her shoulders and returned for one final scare in a mid-credits sequence. Judah Lewis also survives the coming-of-age slasher. It's unclear if the sequel will follow the same story as the first, although Dan Lagana is listed as the new screenwriter. For those of you unaware, Lagana is the writer-producer of Netflix's must-see fake documentary series American Vandal, so that's a good thing. Casting is underway and shooting is expected to run through Thanksgiving. Watch for official news soon. So one of the interesting things about this is, for those of you who don't know, McG started off as a music video director, and he eventually branched out into feature films. He was the one who originally brought the Charlie's Angels movies out with Drew Barrymore and Cameron Diaz and Lucy Liu. And then he did like a string of TV productions. So he did like The OC and Lethal Weapon, a bunch of other stuff. So he's pretty successful by Hollywood standards. And recently he's been doing Netflix original movies. And his first Netflix original movie was this film, The Babysitter. And it was about this kid whose hot babysitter is part of a cult. And they're murdering people one night when she's babysitting for him. And they eventually plan to kill him. And he has to turn the tables on them and survive and stuff like that. And it's kind of a goofy, it's not really a scary movie, but it's kind of a goofy horror, like schlocky slasher type flick. Didn't have a lot of scares, but it was kind of funny. It was a little bit entertaining. His other film, Rim of the World, it's kind of like Goonies meets Independence Day. It's about a bunch of kids who are at camp during an alien invasion. And they have to travel from camp to Pasadena in order to deliver a key that contains information on it that can help the government shoot down the alien mothership. And it was actually a really entertaining film. I thought it was kind of like, it was just stupid, goofy fun, very much like the original Goonies. And you could tell that's what he was going for. So McGee's not the best director in the world, but he's like at least an entertaining one. And it sounds like this is going to be his follow-up to The Babysitter. And the one thing that holds some promise for this film is that the guy who did American Vandal is working on it. Now, Ruin, Steven, did either of you see American Vandal on Netflix?
No, I don't think I did.
Ruin, have you?
Well, no, absolutely not. I was just looking at this guy's filmography, and I don't know some of them, like the one you suggest actually sounds quite decent, but he's done some god awful movies. I mean, that I Feel Pretty with Amy Schumer. Oh my word! So just looking at
Salvation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and I wasn't a fan of the Charlie's Angels, and I can't, there's a lot of whether it's like rom-com stuff or tongue-in-cheek horror.
McGee's kind of the epitome of style over substance. He doesn't really take his movies all that seriously. It's more about what's the cool visual, what's the funny gag, that type of thing. But he's had a great deal of success. American Vandal, for those of you who haven't seen it, you definitely need to check it out. It's kind of like if you've ever heard of Making a Murderer, which is a true crime documentary series.
Yeah,
it takes that format and focuses on ridiculous crimes. Like the very first season, it's all about someone went to the school parking lot of this local high school and spray painted penises on all the teachers' cars. And so the big tagline is "Who drew the dicks?" And it's this like overly dramatic investigation into this crime of vandalism. And it's actually a legitimately good show in terms of like, it's a good mystery, but it's also funny, but it's also dramatic. And so it hits all those right notes. And then the sequel is someone doused the cafeteria lemonade with a laxative. And so it caused everyone at school during lunchtime to poop themselves. And the guy, the vandal, was called the Turd Burglar. And so like the whole question of that season was, who is the Turd Burglar? And it was even better than the first season, believe it or not. So the guy who I guess was responsible for writing those is going to be writing this new sequel to The Babysitter. And I'm holding out hope that he's good enough in terms of being a writer to give McG something good, because I felt like his take on Rim of the World was actually pretty decent. What do you guys think of that?
Yeah, I mean, some of the stuff you said sounds interesting, and it does. With a lot of these, I'm from a writing world, so movies is a totally different ballgame, because you've got the director and the writer, and sometimes they're the one and the same, like Rian Johnson with The Last Jedi, and we know what happened there. Sure. But often they're not, and when they're not, sometimes the director can look bad when actually it was bad writing, or vice versa. It was well written, but it was poorly directed. So he sounds like a guy who doesn't do a lot of his own writing. Is that fair, Matthew? He's more on the directing, and he started in music videos. So look, if the writing's good and he takes he takes an interesting angle on it, then let's give it a go. The one thing I will say about modern horror, how hard is it to create a really good horror film these days? It's just impossible, because nothing scares people anymore. Real life is scarier than. I don't know about that.
I mean, Blumhouse has been doing really good in the horror genre. My girlfriend is a big horror movie fan, so she drags me to all these things. The It movies from Stephen King, the Pet Sematary reboot, remake, that was really scary. I actually really enjoyed that one. So like there are good horror filmmakers out there still. McG is not one of them, and this isn't going to be a horror movie. This is going to be kind of like a goofy, kind of schlocky take on a slasher, probably. So we'll see. Maybe this guy will add some mystery elements to it, like he did with American Vandal, to make it a decent enough story, kind of carrying it through. But in this article, it is interesting because the hot babysitter in the first one really did carry that movie. It's just like, oh, she's very attractive, and I like watching her oscillate from like the sweet babysitter to the evil babysitter and stuff like that. So McGee's really good at putting hot babes in his movies and showcasing them in interesting ways. Steven, what's your take on this?
It sounds like you said, he's one of these directors who he's good with the visuals, but not a good writer. And I think that's usually a problem. Like we see with like Rian Johnson, his directing is okay, but he's a terrible writer. So if he's a good writer, then maybe there'll be hope.
Ryan Johnson he is able to put a pretty picture on the screen. Like his visual style is pretty good, but he's a terrible storyteller.
Yeah,
Awful. And he's the wrong fit for Star Wars, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It always comes back to Ruin Johnson. You man babies can't let it go, can you?
So William McLaughlin says, it always seems like horror fans are more willing to subject themselves to bad movies because they love the genre so much. And
I'm with you, man.
Yeah, there is a tendency for people to love a horror movie more if it's bad. Like the bad horror movie, watching stuff like Best of the Worst type thing. That's a big thing because sometimes they can be so bad that they're enjoyable.
Yeah. Yeah, you can watch. You guys used to watch like the Friday night movies and stuff, like those late night, like terrible horror movies, and you know they're just fun to watch, you know, for some reason. But it's always like with the horror movies.
Mladen Kulik says, "I don't think The Babysitter needs a sequel. I don't think anybody thought The Babysitter needed a sequel, but Netflix, I guess, decided, hey, why not? The first one did okay." Netflix is also ramping up their content offerings to, you know, kind of compete in the streaming wars. So
yeah, they're losing shows, right? I mean,
yeah, they're losing a lot of the network shows.
Right.
McGee also directed This Means War and Terminator Salvation. And Terminator Salvation is an underrated sequel. I don't think it's underrated at all. I thought it was a pretty terrible movie.
Yeah.
Did you guys like Terminator Salvation?
No.
I didn't go there, to be honest. I kind of, you know, I love the first and the second one. And what was what was the Christian Bale one?
That's Salvation.
That's Salvation. Yeah, I think I watched about 15 minutes there, and I was like,
you know, the premise of Salvation was really good, to see like an adult John Connor leading the resistance and seeing like the start of the fight against Skynet. I thought it, like, the potential for that to be incredible would have been great. And if it had been good, you know, the Terminator series could have been all about that future war, like seeing John Connor be the general leading the fight. Like that would have been awesome. And it just totally squandered that premise. It was just boring and stupid.
Yeah, that's where I thought the whole series was headed. You know, it's gonna be like, okay, now we're like in real time in this alternate universe where Judgment Day happened, and we're gonna be following John Connor. But it's just like, I still don't know what that movie was about. Like, I didn't get what the quote unquote Terminator in that movie. What was he? Like, what was the point of it? It was just kind of weird, you know.
It's like, we got to have a Terminator in this movie somewhere.
Yeah,
it was weird.
Hey Matthew, I'm just checking out the actress from The Babysitter. I've just I had to Google her now that you've bigged her up, and she's got a bit of the Margot Robbie going on, hasn't she?
She's very attractive.
Yeah, so
but she knows how to pick them.
Yeah, I might give that one a go. Just for
does Ruin do the casting couch? Is that how that works?
Well, you know, me and Kathy, we are very tight. We holiday together. We bath together. Yes.
So William McLaughlin says, with a good writer, McGee could be serviceable. I agree. You know, but you can say that with any director. If any director has a good writer, they can make a decent enough movie. You have to work really hard to screw up a bad script. Jesse says, I can't stand jump scares. I see them coming a mile away, and even when I don't, it's still not scary. I hate jump scares too. I just find them lazy and cheap. Like I don't know how else to scare you, so I'm just going to blast music really loud when this thing jumps out. It's like, that's not scary. That's just annoying.
No, it's such a cliche, you know. It's somebody sneaking up behind you, you know. Oh, it's the cat. It's
yeah. That's a cat jump scare. That's the cheapest of them all.
Over and over again.
Jesse goes on to say, years ago, I watched Sorority House Massacre 2. It was with my buddy Charlie, and we laughed so much. I even said, dun, dun, dun. And I swear to God, I'm screaming it was thunder and lightning. You know, a good horror movie can be fun. That's why, you know, they make them, because like they can be a lot of fun. Anyway, guys, I think that we've covered everything I wanted to cover in this live stream. Thank you so much for coming out and joining me and chit-chatting and being part of this. Ruin, why don't you tell everyone where they can find out more about you?
Yeah, so I am Ruin the Man Baby on Twitter, at Ruin the Man Baby. I post YouTube videos as well as Ruin the Man Baby, because no one likes it when I post them as me, so I have to do it with that goddamn round-headed mask on. I've just actually the last video I've dropped features this man here, Matthew Kaddish. I've just dropped the first episode of the Fandom Menace show. So that's primarily a podcast, but I put it on YouTube as well. So again, if you go to my Twitter, you'll see the links to it there at Ruin the Man Baby. And it's got a really good response, Matthew. You got a lot of love for that, so thank you for being my first guest.
Yeah, but I tanked at the Man Baby challenge. I think Stephen, how did you do at that?
I think I did the same as you.
You did. Spoiler alert. Yeah. So my second guest is the other guy here, Stephen Wayne, and drunk who we had on is coming on. I've got loads of others lined up. So yeah, looking forward to getting more of those out. It's an hour of mainly Star Wars chat, but just good fun as well. But you're doing a great job of this, Matthew. Thanks for having me on, bro.
Thank you. We got one more comment from Twitch from Sablefell. Good scare takes time. It's not just immediately jumping out at someone. I prefer a slow lead up to mind scares. I agree. Like a really good kind of like atmospheric horror movie is always better than the cheap jump scares. Anyway, Stephen, thank you so much. And for you Earthman Jack fans out there, Steven's doing some artwork for me for Earthman Jack, which looks absolutely fabulous. He's doing a great job. Can't wait to share it all with you. Stephen, why don't you tell everyone one more time where they can find you on Twitter?
Yeah, on Twitter, it's at Stephen Wayne Art. And I use the same handle pretty much everywhere. So you can go to Instagram or my ArtStation page at Stephen Wayne Art just to see some of my work. Mostly just character design, stuff like that. And But thank you for having me on, Matthew. I appreciate it. This was fun.
Thank you for coming on. And to everyone out there, I'm going to try to do more of these live streams. So let me know what you think in the comments on the respective platforms. We're actually streaming out, Rune, I don't know if you knew this, but we were actually streaming out on YouTube, Periscope, Facebook, Mixer, Twitch, and DLive. So we were all over the internet during this little live stream. So you're now famous across every platform.
Well, I wish I'd put some trousers on in that case, but never mind. Hopefully I've not revealed myself.
Right on. All right. Everyone, thanks you for tuning in to this meeting of the Legion of Doom, and we will catch you in the next one. See you later.
Later, dudes.
Peace out.